Sup guys, it's Alex here and welcome to another edition of the Bracketology update. This one is for the first day of 2022. You can say it is the 2022 NCAA Tournament Bracketology, as you can see on that screen. It was updated yesterday. We've had some games go on. Kentucky destroyed High Point. Baylor got a huge win over Iowa State, though Iowa State did look impressive. Villanova beat Seton Hall, which is a pretty good win for Villanova. And then Memphis destroyed Wichita State, which was a big surprise on the road. But man, we are finally in 2022 right now, and I am super excited for this college basketball season. Man, we are finally getting into bowl seasons kind of coming to an end for college football, so attention is starting to turn to college basketball now for all those college sports fans out there. But man, I am so excited to see this tournament happen. Some great games, some great teams right now. And let's go ahead and take a look here at the bracket watch. Before we get into the bubble watch, top overall seed Baylor, they just made a stronger case for themselves. I'm pretty sure the game against Iowa State was also on the road. So that team is looking fantastic so far, looking like a good chance to repeat as national champions. There we go. First team out is San Diego State. Last team in is Davidson, and for some reason, Joe Lunardi's given a bid to Louisville right now as the automatic qualifier. You can kind of read that little blurb right there as to why. But taking a look here at the bubble watch, last four byes are BYU, San Francisco, the Dons, Florida, and Virginia Tech, who had a great game in the first round last year in the tournament. That was pretty crazy. Then we have last four in are St. Mary's, Mississippi State, Wake Forest, who missed a good opportunity against Louisville. That's another thing. Louisville was able to hang on to beat Wake Forest a couple days ago. And then Davidson. First four out are San Diego State, Creighton, who got a big win today over Marquette on the road in double overtime, Northwestern, and Belmont. And then the next four out are St. Bonaventure, Clemson, TCU, and Arkansas. Arkansas now in next four out. They were like a 3 or 4 seed to start the college basketball season. They are not looking good at all. I mean, heck, they were a 3 seed last year. I'm pretty sure they made it to the Elite Eight too. Yeah, they did make it to the Elite Eight because they beat Oral Roberts in the Sweet 16 and then ended up losing to Baylor. But this has to be a disappointing season if you're an Arkansas fan. Probably 3 biggest disappointments this season are Arkansas, Memphis, which is nowhere to be found on the bubble right now, and then Michigan, who is a projected number 1 seed before the season even started. And right now, as you can see, kind of skipping down there, they are a 9 seed, and I think they lost again to UCF. Can't remember if that was before or after this bracketology came out, but that team is not heading in the right direction. But taking a look here at some bracket movement, in the South Regional, we now have Iowa up to an 8, BYU down to a 9. Those two teams were flipped in the last bracketology in that exact same location. LSU down to a 5, Murray State new to the field as a 12, Houston down to a 4, Oakland up to a 13, UCF up to an 11, Auburn up to a 3, Princeton up to a 14, and then St. Joseph's new to the field as the automatic qualifier as a 15. Then taking a look there at the Midwest Regional over in the Chicago region, we have Oklahoma up to an 8, Villanova down to a 5, Chattanooga up to a 12, Kentucky remaining a 4. I don't know why I called that out. Wagner up to a 13. Then we have Minnesota up to a 10, and Liberty moving up to the 15 line. They were a 16. Over here in the East Regional, Michigan, as I just mentioned, they just lost to UCF, and that team, I don't know what is going on with that program. They have been so disappointing this year. I want to say they're like 7-6 or something like that, which I think is more losses than they had all of last year combined. Then we have Toledo new to the field as a 13, UAB up to an 11, Grand Canyon new to the field as a 14, and we have St. Mary's and Mississippi State moving on up to the 10 line, which is weird to have a playing game at the 10 line, but I guess Joe Lunardi knows what he's doing. Coastal Carolina new to the field as a 15. And then if we go over there to the West Regional, Boise State new to the field as a 12. Tennessee down to a 4 after that great game. Or I think they ended up losing to somebody. I don't know why they're down to a 4 because they beat Arizona. Who knows? Then Louisville, as I mentioned earlier, they are an 11 for some reason. I don't know why Lunardi put them as the automatic qualifier. Ohio State up to a 3. Navy up to a 14. And then Southern Utah new to the field as a 15. So moving on over to the bracket here. As you guys know, every single bracketology that happens, I create an Excel bracket and just go ahead and fill out the bracket based off of what I think is going to happen in the NCAA tournament. Got some crazy picks at this point in the season. I mean, we're about 2 months in, 2 months to go, about halfway through. Conference games are starting to kick off. Kentucky had a big one over Missouri. I'm just a Kentucky fan, so I know a little bit more about that. But let's go ahead and kick things off with Baylor versus Campbell. Obviously, you guys know Baylor's going to end up winning that one. Iowa and BYU, I'm going to go with the Fighting Hawkeyes there, or not the Fighting Hawkeyes, just the regular Hawkeyes, who did lose to my Kentucky Wildcats today in the Citrus Bowl, so that was great to see as a Kentucky football fan and basketball fan. Then LSU and Murray State, I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I know LSU was number 2 in the net rankings at some point, but I think they have suffered a loss or two as of late. I'll have to look more into it. But I think they did lose to Auburn. That's why they're down to a 5. But I'm going to go with Murray State. They upset Marquette as a 12/5 upset a couple of years ago. Granted, they did have John Morant, but I think that they could do it again here. Houston and Oakland, I am going to go with Houston winning that one. Texas versus UCF, I got Texas winning that battle over the team that just beat Michigan. Then Auburn will beat Princeton. Then we are going to go with Virginia Tech here beating Wisconsin as a 10/7, and then UCLA beating St. Joseph's. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Baylor moving on past Iowa. I am going to go with Murray State here, the 12 seed moving on past Houston. I'll probably be saying it for most every bracketology that I do when I talk about Houston, but they lost 2 of their best players. They lost Sasser and Mark to injuries. I haven't looked to see if it is season long, but I need to go ahead and take another look at it. But those injuries could come to bite them in the NCAA tournament. Texas and Auburn, 2 football powerhouses. I got to go with Auburn right now. I have been disrespecting them recently. That team is looking great right now. Then UCLA and Virginia Tech, you got to go with UCLA winning that one. 1 versus 12 matchup here, 4 spot in the Elite Eight. You got to go with Baylor moving on there. Auburn versus UCLA. I love UCLA right now, which sets up Baylor versus UCLA. I think this should be a national championship game, but they meet in the Elite Eight just because of the way that the bracket ended up shaking out. I'm going to go with Baylor moving on there. So moving on over to the top right regional, I think it was the Midwest one. Purdue obviously is going to win that first round matchup. I think San Francisco will lose to Oklahoma here. Porter Moser will get that team moving on. Villanova, if they hadn't beaten Seton Hall, I would have gone with Chattanooga pulling off the upset there, but I got to go with Villanova after that sound performance over Seton Hall. Then Kentucky, I think, will handle Wagner. Illinois, I think, will lose to the winner of Wake Forest and Davidson in an 11/6 upset. We got Alabama over Vermont. Colorado State, I think they're one of like 4 or 5 remaining undefeated teams in college basketball. They'll move on past Minnesota, and then Kansas will beat Liberty, which sets up a Sweet 16, or for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Purdue versus Oklahoma. We are going to go with Purdue winning that one. Kentucky will beat Villanova. Then we're going to go with Alabama here, moving on past the winner of Wake and Davidson. And then Kansas will beat Colorado State. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, I'm going to go with an upset pick here with Kentucky over Purdue. Ever since Kentucky lost to Notre Dame, a switch got flipped. Oscar Tshiebwe is playing like a National Player of the Year contender with 28 rebounds and 20 in his last 2 games. I think Kentucky, they destroyed North Carolina. They destroyed Western Kentucky. They destroyed Missouri. And they also destroyed High Point, but that's another thing. That team is looking fantastic right now. Granted, Purdue is too. I believe in Kentucky right now. Then we're going to go with Kansas over Alabama. And then we're putting Kentucky in the Final Four with the way this team is playing. As of late, they're up to the top 10 in Andy Katz's power rankings. I think that team can make the Final Four. So then for a spot, or moving on down to the bottom right regional, we have Duke moving on past the winner of Nichols and Texas Southern. Loyola Chicago will beat Michigan, as I've already talked about my feelings on Michigan. Providence, I think, can beat Iona there, though Rick Pitino will probably have something to say about that. Iowa State will beat Providence. UConn, I think, can beat UAB. Then we'll have USC over Grand Canyon. Then West Virginia will beat the winner of St. Mary's, and Mississippi State, which will probably be St. Mary's at this point. Then Michigan State will beat Coastal Carolina. First spot in the Sweet 16, we got Duke advancing past Loyola Chicago. Iowa State moving on past Providence. USC beating UConn, and then Michigan State moving on past West Virginia. So no crazy upset so far. That comes to an end here. We are having another 4 seed upsetting a 1 seed with Iowa State. As I just mentioned, they played fantastic against Baylor. That was their first loss of the season, I do believe. I think that they move on to the Elite Eight there, where they will face the winner of USC and Michigan State, which I think it would be Michigan State. And then for a spot in the Final Four, we are going to go with the Spartans of Michigan State advancing on. You guys know I believe in them a lot this year. I think they move on to the Final Four. But then moving on to the last regional over here, we have Gonzaga moving on past CSU Fullerton. North Carolina, I think, can beat Indiana. Then Xavier will beat Boise State. Tennessee will beat South Dakota State. Seton Hall will beat Louisville. Then we are going to go with Ohio State here over Navy. I am going to go with an upset pick here with Florida over Texas Tech. I know Florida did lose to Texas Southern, but I think that Florida is a better team than Texas Tech at this point in the season. Arizona will beat Southern Utah, which is crazy for Arizona to be a number 2 seed right now. For a spot in the Sweet 16, Gonzaga moving on past North Carolina in a rematch of the 2017 National Championship game. Tennessee, I think, can beat Xavier. Ohio State, I think, will be able to beat Seton Hall, and then Arizona will beat Florida. For a spot in the Elite Eight, we got Gonzaga moving on past Tennessee. Ohio State upsetting Arizona here. I think Ohio State can advance to the Elite Eight with this bracket matchup, where they will fall to Gonzaga here in the Elite 8, which I think Gonzaga, or Ohio State did beat Duke. I wanted to say they beat Gonzaga, but it ended up being Duke that they had beat earlier in the season. But moving on for a spot in the national championship game, I do think whoever wins this Baylor versus Gonzaga game will end up winning the national championship. So I am going to go with Baylor just off of the performances of these different teams so far. Then Kentucky versus Michigan State. Why not go with my Kentucky Wildcats? We'll do some home cooking in this episode since YouTube doesn't allow dislikes, and I know some of you people out there don't like it when I pick Kentucky. We'll have Kentucky in the national championship game, but they will lose to Baylor, who is the best team in college basketball right now. So there we have it. There are my predictions for the NCAA tournament based off of this first bracketology of 2022. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your own predictions and thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you all later.